Did you know that one of your peers could be a 7th-generation KKK member? I firmly believe that it is important for us as youth, as the future of this country, of this world, to have these meaningful conversations about the darkest corners of our history, especially when it has to do with racial prejudice and discrimination of minorities. We have to talk about things that made parents afraid to send their children to school. We have to talk about things that made people afraid to be outside when the sun went down. I chose this topic with purpose, to hope that it sparks curiosity in the minds of you, the youth, us, the youth, because we are the future politicians, we are the future doctors, the future lawyers, we are the future business owners, we are the future activists of this entire world. And you know what? We have to be proud about the world we leave behind for future generations. Throughout this presentation, I not only hope that you educate yourselves more on this topic, but also that you use your real-life experiences to make connections concerning this topic. When searching for information on the KKK, I found that it was very convenient to divide the information into 3 categories. The first being the origins of the KKK, the second being the traditions of the KKK, and the third being the modern day KKK. Because yes, the KKK is indeed alive and well in almost every state in the US. After the South's defeat in the Civil War, or the Confederates as they were also called, in 1865, the Ku Klux Klan was founded to suppress the rights of African Americans and their newfound citizenship rights. The word Ku Klux, or the phrase rather, Ku Klux, was derived from the Greek word kuklos, which means circle. And interestingly enough, the people who claimed to be the dominant race couldn't even spell right, which is why they ended up with Ku Klux. And they added the word Klan to establish themselves as an organization. According to modern day Ku Klux Klan members, it means White Race Brotherhood. The first rise of the Ku Klux Klan occurred in late 1865. They met at a convention-like setting and called their meeting the Invisible Empire of the South, which is definitely as sinister as it sounds. But like every empire, they needed their own emperor, which is the equivalent of our president. So instead of an emperor, they called it an imperial wizard or a grand wizard. And their first one was Nathan Bedford Forrest. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a Confederate general who was admired during the time of the war. Besides the imperial wizard, the Klan also consisted of a grand dragon, multiple grand dragons, grand cyclopses, and grand titans. Sounds like a bunch of psychos on psychedelic drugs. I know. By the 1870s, the KKK was known as the White Resistance. During the Reconstruction era, the rights of Blacks and their citizenship became a priority for the U.S. government. This is when President Ulysses S. Grant was in power. In the South, lynchings and brutal killings of African Americans became frequent and common. The Klan began to attack Republican leaders who supported the rights of citizenships of African Americans. The Ku Klux Klan consequently went underground for a few years. After their first decline, they were still able to use their inside members of the Ku Klux Klan who were in government to ensure that Jim Crow laws were imposed on society. Beginning in 1915, the second coming of the Ku Klux Klan birthed the ritual of the infamous burning of the Latin cross, which symbolized a warning from the Ku Klux Klan and sparked intimidation. It was a message to all of the African Americans in the area where the cross burned that we are here to make sure that each day of your life you lived in constant fear and that your life is in constant danger. This method of intimidation proved to be successful. This vigilante behavior continued until 1944, which began the second decline of the Klan. Unlike the first decline of the Klan, where there were opposing forces imposing on the Klan's ultimate goal, this time, there was internal conflict in the Klan. This time, the Klan's internal conflicts were their downfall and consisted because of the setup of the hierarchy in the Klan. Many imperial wizards began to betray their clans or do corrupt things that brought about the Klan's downfall. But only 2 years later did the Klan reconvene, get back together, and regroup. And this time, they were stronger than ever. This regathering of the KKK, which took place in 1946, is known as the third and final coming of the KKK. This is the modern day KKK, which is alive and well today. The modern day Ku Klux Klan still believes that they are the dominant race. Sometimes they buy public property or they buy lands and they make it private so that they have space for their organization, for the Ku Klux Klan. And you can recognize them by having a Confederate flag hanging along with a United States flag, but ultimately they will have a Ku Klux Klan flag, which is known as the blood drop flag, which looks like a cross, like a red cross with a black background. The modern day KKK operates using an official website which can be easily found via Google search. They separate themselves from the violent history of their organization and claim to be a peaceful group that believes that the only way races can thrive in their full potential and culture is through racial separation / isolation. Though the Klan is predominantly known for their hatred for African Americans, in some niches of the Ku Klux Klan in the U.S., they believe Catholics, Jews, and immigrants also to be inferior. This is because the KKK's ultimate goal is to and was to impose white supremacy as the official social and political order. Though we know the Klan for their white robes and pointed hoods, the Ku Klux Klan didn't have any official or traditional regalia until their second rise in 1915. Now, their white robes and pointed hood, which is ironically called the Cloak of Darkness by outsiders, is very symbolic. According to modern-day Klan members, the white represents purity, naturally, and this plays into the Ku Klux Klan's 100% Americanism trope. One of their most common traditions, which I mentioned earlier, is the burning of the Latin cross, which also is joined by chants which have evolved over time. Even after 150 years, this terrorist organization is still alive and well on American soil. They're actively recruiting younger members, males and females, to be the next generation of Ku Klux Klan members. Once again, this terrorist organization is not only alive and well, but thriving on American soil, and the government knows. The details of the sinister and violent history of the KKK is not mentioned in detail in the school systems, which is why, once again, it is our responsibility to go out and take the initiative and learn about it, which is why I chose this topic. In conclusion, if you're in the woods camping out with your family and you see a burning cross, run.